So I want to welcome these guys. And what we'll have you do is when you do the flag ceremony, we'll have you come up to the microphone afterwards and just tell us your name, and just tell us your name. That's good enough. But thank you guys for being here, and your troop number.
This is troop number 3038 from Sugar House. Their Boy Scout leader is Boy Scout Master Stafford, right? Great. So we will turn it over to
and a special shout out to Aiden.
To a troop 3038. All right, Boy Scouts, you're not done yet. You have to come up to the microphone and introduce yourselves right there. Give us your full name.
I am Aiden Robert Bonner.
I am Mason Combs.
I'm Matthew Beal.
I'm Seth Wright.
Well, we appreciate you being here this evening and
Mr. Chair, I think we should also make the leaders introduce themselves too.
That's true.
We shouldn't just have the kids.
Do you have any scout chairs that you can lead us in? No, why don't you just come up and introduce yourselves as leaders as well?
I'm Stafford Combs.
Kevin Wright. My name is Cody Beal, and for those of you that don't know, Troop 3038 is from Wasatch Presbyterian, non-denominational Boy Scout troop here in Salt Lake, one of the oldest. So,
well, thank you for being here this evening. Great. I'm going to just go over the review of standards of conduct that we read at the beginning of each formal meeting. We would like to welcome you to the City Council meeting this evening. We appreciate that you have taken time out of your day to attend our meeting to participate and see your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure people feel comfortable and safe to participate. Please be respectful during the people's comments. Avoid cheering or jeering because it could cause someone to feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on furniture or leaning against decorative pieces. If you have a sign, prop, or other piece of equipment, please make sure that it does not cause disruption or block other people's views. Please do not approach the dais. If you have something to pass out to the council, a staff member can assist you. Our staff is here to help you, and staff members, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, those that are in the room, over here at this corner, we have one over there and one at the desk. They can assist you with any questions that you might have. Also, we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time may not be long enough to get all your thoughts outlined tonight. So you can go to our website at www.slccouncil.com or refer to a contact information sheets by the speaker cards for information about other ways to share your comments with the council via email, phone, or mail. So that is item A3. And now we are going on to A4, which this is really weird for me because I'm chairing the meeting.
Just turn it over to me, James.
All right, Stan, I'll turn it over to you.
A former council member in District 1, Carlton Christensen, once told me that the most important role of a vice chair is appropriately honoring the chair at the end of the year. And so that is what we're doing now. And I just wanted to take a minute to say to James that in a year of considerable transformations at the city, James Rogers has been an incredibly bold leader and has done an incredible job of keeping the council on track and protecting both the council and the city's interests moving forward. We've made some remarkable progress this year under his leadership on homelessness and affordable housing, both really incredibly important and major issues that required a lot of courage and a lot of compassion from our leader. He's unflappable, and whether he's tackling a really important high-stakes problem or whether he's reminding the council members to shorten their comments so that we can keep our meetings on time. In appreciation of your service, James, we from the council present you with this framed print. And are you unveiling, Priscilla? Or, yeah, please. A framed print from the September 4th, 1869 issue of Harper's Weekly. This image depicts Salt Lake City from a welcoming vantage point on 600 North, which is close to your home in District 1. This is an original. It's a small token of our great appreciation, James, of your leadership and your guidance through this year. Thank you very much. And I think perhaps even more importantly, to acknowledge your sort of freewheeling style of leadership, we also had a shirt designed for you. It says, "Go big or go home." And
Thank you, Stan.
and it truly, I think, sums up for me and the council your focus of the year, which was let's come to the table with big ideas, and I think that has demonstrated a lot of progress for the council this year. So it's been an honor to serve as your vice chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For those of you who know me, you know that I hate this type of acknowledgement. I hate to be put in the spotlight. It's a wonder why I even ran for office, but I did. You know, I'm not a guy that likes to write things down when I speak. I think the first person that will be excited for me, actually 3 ladies will be excited for me not to be the chair anymore, are my mom, my wife, and my daughter Sadie. That's because before I was in leadership, I either talked or texted my mom every single day, and since I've been in leadership, it hasn't been that. So my mom is here, so my mom and my wife Megan and
I think we should have them stand up for us.
and then my daughter Sadie and my son Stockton and my second mom, Carol Jean Summerhays. So, but you know, this really is not about me, it's about this council. And this has been the most rewarding year on the council so far. And that's because everybody participated, everybody had a say, everybody was involved. It didn't matter whether we got along or agreed on a situation. When it all came back to the subject, we did go big or we went home, and that's because we have a nice home to go to. And we saw that today as we announced the 4 sites. There are several hundreds of individuals that don't have a home to go to. And if we can play a role in helping these individuals get off of the street and into a comfortable place, we've served our role pretty dang importantly. You know, Andrew Johnston, Derek Kitchen, the newest members on the council, you would never know that this was your first year. You guys just stood out as stars and just took the ball and just ran with it. Stan, you have been an amazing, just an amazing brick wall for me to lean on when there are issues that come up that I need, you know, constant, I want to say supervision, but it was keeping me in check to make sure that high school James doesn't come out. Aaron, you know, you really went with the big ideas, which is so grateful because we accomplished so much because of them. And Charlie Luke, the strategist of all strategists, to help us move along the homeless issue. Seriously, kudos to you for that. Lisa Adams, you're stalwart with the RDA, making sure the meetings run well and on time, getting our stuff going through. We know the RDA is going through some huge changes, and under your leadership, it has been a great change. But what it really all comes down to is we're elected officials, and the real work happens with staff. So Allison Rowland, Amber McClellan, Becky Dangerfield, Amanda Lau, Ben Ludke, Brian Fulmer, Bridget Williams, Cindy Gus Jensen, who is the executive director for our staff, is a fountain of knowledge. We would be lost without her. Cindy Liu, Dan Wiest, our communications man, Jan Aramaki, Jenny Buckley, Jennifer Bruno, who is just so capable in everything that she does, along with Cindy, Kira Luke, Lehua Weaver, my sisters, Libby Stockstill, Priscilla, Tuau, Amber McClelland, Molly Farmer, Russell Weeks, and I don't know if Stephanie's still here, Stephanie Aravalo, Sylvia Richards, and Tracy Fletcher. Seriously, the Salt Lake City Council is a well-run machine, and it's done so because of the staff. So I cannot give them enough props wherever they are. So kudos to our staff. And okay, and I know it's still a moment of personal privilege, but apparently my wife and my kids have brought something that they want to hand out, if that's okay.
And while they're coming forward, James, if I just may say, I so enjoy high school James. And I hope to see a lot more of him next year, actually.
So we decided to bring a bag of your favorite treats. And so we didn't know if we could share with the council all of your favorite treats. We didn't think you'd share them. So for the council and for staff, hopefully you will share our chocolate treats. Every Christmas, my parents hand dip chocolate. And so I do have a box of chocolates at home for James, but this one is for all of you to share. So this bag is for James, and then this box is for all of you.
So if you see us eating chocolates, it's because it's going around the table.
Right. So, but we're just proud of James, and we are so relieved that this year is over. I'm so happy that he is home, and he can have this whole bag to himself. So, okay.
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything? Okay. All right. There is. There's plenty for everyone.
Okay, I'm going to pass these chocolates down, but Aaron, I know that you've got a moment of personal privilege too.
Yeah, what a meeting for our last meeting. I look at this agenda and it's going to go all over the map, but it's fun to celebrate the work that was done this year. And James, I just have to say that of all the shoulders we could have elected to carry this council body on this year, we definitely couldn't have elected a bigger set of shoulders than yours on this council. But also, literally, figuratively, you carried us into a new capacity as a council body. I am proud of this council in a way I never have been before, and I'm going to remember this year with you as our leader. And you've done a wonderful job. I really admire you for this year. But another person that we need to recognize every single year is Cindy Gus Jensen and the staff that she leads. And she's sitting in the back in a very inconspicuous way. But Cindy, you act as a vessel for 6 cat wrangling, 7, sorry. I wasn't going to count myself necessarily, but you wrangle 7 cats pretty much 365 days a year, and you take all of our ideas and our priorities individually and then collectively as a body, and you help us filter those through the tools that we have as a council, and through the budget that we actually have every year, and help us imagine new ways to do better with this city. And we could go through and name all of the council staff who help us in all of those ways too, but Luke Garrett did that really well on his way out, so I'm not going to put you through that tonight. But Cindy, we have a gift for you. It's a little token, and I hope it reminds you of how much we admire you and we appreciate the work that you do, and here's to next year.
Well, I guess we need to get some work done, right? Yes. So, we're going to move right into public hearings. The Trolley Square Venture Rezone. And I have some cards that are coming up. So I'll call two individuals. If the first person will come up, the second one, get ready. Leslie Trubetskoy. I'm sorry if I... Great. And then followed by Jack Davis.
Good evening. I live at 802 and 804 South, 600 East. I own Arts of the World Gallery. I have been through the process of getting a commercial enterprise going in that historic district. I'll just read a little bit from here. The historic district that was planned and was set in place years ago with the intent to preserve the area from future projects that would alter the patina of this historic area, such as the presidents have had the foresight to do with our national parks and national forests. Now a future project is here, asking to have it all set aside because they have the money, they have the influence, maybe better ideas, at least from the point of view of their financial statements. When I purchased my property, I knew of the restrictions and I respected them. They were placed on the land and I worked within that structure. Even though it meant I spent $7,000 on a window instead of a $1,000 option. And there were many other conforming issues that I respected and followed through on. I have traveled to many large cities and have seen their patinas change over the years. Once it is gone, it's like the furniture. You can't get it back. Do something with the area. Sure, it needs some sprucing up. Turn it into an open space. Celebrate it for what it is. Truly, it is an opportunity to experience a nostalgic area and a rare open space that still exists for us. Thank you.
Jack Davis, followed by Alan Roberts.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jack Davis. I'd like to state again that I'm encouraged that the Trolley South lot is being considered for redevelopment. At this juncture, however, I have concerns relating to the development agreement that is being considered by the council. My first concern is one of precedent. A limited development agreement relating to residential uses and affordable housing may very well be appropriate. A development agreement that specifically exempts an applicant from important aspects of the historic design review process, however, sets a very concerning precedent to me. Indeed, if such a precedent is established, I have no doubt that future developers will also seek such exemptions. Considerations relating to setbacks, stepbacks, and height represent inherent issues in the existing language of the FBUN2 base zone and should be addressed via text amendments to this zone and not by a precedent-setting development agreement. In fact, these pending text amendments are in government terms right behind this immediate application, and they should be considered in conjunction with this proposal and not in isolation. My second concern relates to public process. I attended the entirety of last week's 5-hour-long work session at the Landmarks Commission regarding this project, and I believe the applicant was given good initial guidance on scale and massing issues by the commission. This guidance, however, was notably based on preliminary conceptual designs and not final proposals. The public was not able to provide comment on these preliminary designs at the work session, and if the proposed development agreement is adopted by the council, they will also not be able to provide any comment relating to mass and scale in conjunction with any final design proposals presented to the commission. Again, this is a concerning circumvention of the established public process relating to new construction in local historic districts. In view of this, I strongly urge you not to circumvent important aspects of the historic design review process and instead address any problems with the FBUN2 zone the way they should be addressed, that is via the pending text amendments. Thank you.
Alan Roberts, followed by Nancy Barrickman.
Alan Roberts, architect for the Trolley Ventures project just alluded to. I just want to make a quick progress report. Since we last met with the council, we've had several meetings with the staff and the aforementioned 5.5-hour meeting with the Landmarks Commission. We have revised and refined our plans in accordance with the input we've received from the staff and Landmarks. The current design is now compliant both with the provisions of the FBUN2 zoning and also the provisions of the text amendment or the proposed possible text amendment in terms of heights, setbacks, step backs, and other provisions of those two of the zoning and the text amendment itself. So we will be resubmitting the revised plans to the city and going through the proper procedures with Landmarks and with all the other agencies that have oversight on this project. So that is an update on where we're at. Thank you. And I was going to show you the new site plan, but I'm done.
Hello, council members. My name's Nancy Barrickman. I live at 658 East Eli Place, so I live directly across a very narrow street from this proposed development. And in general, it's my philosophy that we should concentrate on urban infill. I think dense residential development and commercial development is preferable to the kind of suburban sprawl that we see in the Salt Lake City metro area. And I believe I emailed you yesterday regarding this issue. So I like the idea of developing. This is a surface parking lot. It's not attractive. It's not a good use of space. I think that Trolley Square should do something. At the same time, I take this personal because it's going to be very, very close to where I live. And as I believe this plan is something that I saw, Jack Davis, I believe, emailed it to me the other day. And it's 38 feet from my house, this building that will be 4 stories high. I live in a tiny 1-story house. And 38 feet, I measured it today. It's not very far from my house. And my house was built in 1911. I honestly don't know much about the history of it, and I'd like to get to know it a little bit better. But these historic small houses have a certain character and charm that is unique to Salt Lake City. And I think having this close proximity of 38 feet from my house would be detrimental to the neighborhood. And it's a lovely neighborhood. It's very walkable. I ride my bike every day. I encourage other people to live there and live the way that I do, because I just went yesterday to a screening of a documentary about climate change. And I think this kind of development could be the way in which we address things like climate change, because people will walk more, they'll bike more. But we need to balance that with the historical character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Cindy Cromer, followed by Judy Short.
My name is Cindy Cromer, and there's a handout, of course, and there's one for everybody. So there are 11 of them tonight. I've never seen a process so distorted and inefficient as this one. I've never witnessed so many things which have never happened before happening for a single petition. With so many things happening for the first time ever, you would think I could find something to be pleased about. As I indicated last week, so far I'm only grateful for your interventions. When the accepted process is as distorted as this one, when the course bypasses public process via a development agreement, it's unlikely that I'm going to find anything which pleases me. You get outcome with any form of government. You can only get good public process in a democracy. So I want to acknowledge some highlights. The most concise statement made so far about this zoning request in 10 months was Sherry Coffey last Thursday night at the Landmarks Commission, when she said, the staff recommended FBUN2 without a development agreement. The worst math. The development agreement would require 5% affordable housing. I voluntarily provide 3 times as many affordable units as a sole proprietor. As I said to you last summer in a rather memorable statement, I want what he's having. The biggest unintended consequence: how did we adopt a zone with so little regard for adjacent properties with no requirements for housing, parking, setbacks, or stepbacks? No one would intentionally create the zone you're being asked to apply. All of the city's other form-based codes have setbacks and stepbacks. All of the other neighborhoods with form-based zones get a better deal than mine. The handout contains what I've found so far regarding the adoption of the FBUN2. I have more work to do. I have to listen to a bunch of recordings, which will be very unpleasant and time-consuming. But I will update the handout, and of course, I will let you know what I find. Thank you very much.
Judy Short, followed by Michael DeGroot.
Good evening, I'm Judy Short. In the past few years, I've noticed a very disturbing trend. There seems to be some sort of frantic hurry by developers to buy up land and get things approved and built in Salt Lake City. At the same time, it feels like Salt Lake City is frantic to get their share of the pie. As a result, I'd estimate that 80% of the proposals we've seen in the past couple of years are asking for some sort of an exception. Almost all applications are a planned development of one type or another. The developers are asking for a higher use or a smaller setback other than what would normally be required. Now, this Trolley Square project is also being rushed through, trying to get to the City Council to approve a rezone that would tie the hands of the Historic Landmarks Commission. Why? Why are you even considering this? The zoning code seems to be so full of holes that all sorts of variations are being approved. The code almost seems not worth having at all. You haven't even noticed that we aren't at scarcity here. Plenty of people want to build and live in Salt Lake. You don't need to give away the store. It's time to just deny this request and send it back to the Planning Commission so it can be approved after the FBUN2 zone is revised. Then the project can move forward. You'll have the tools you need to rezone this appropriately so the buffers are in place to protect the historic small homes that abut this project and have a project that will make us all proud. You don't need to be doing developer agreements with each project you approve. And on the rare occasion that you do, you need to write it. The developer should not be writing this. If the process was working properly, the revisions to FBUN2 would have been approved before the project came to you. Due to various notification errors, that is now delayed and has yet to come before the Planning Commission. Because those two zones have a synergy and provide a buffer for areas adjacent to single-family homes, they're meant to be used together to step up the taller buildings envisioned in FBUN 1 and 2.
Time,
Send
Madam.
it back to the Planning Commission.
My name is Michael DeGroot, and I work for Trolley Square Ventures. And I'm going to speak about the historical legacy that's inspiring this project. In February 1888, the 10th Ward Square, where Trolley Square is today, was an empty field. In March, they decided to make it home for the Territorial Fair. In May, the architect, Richard Kletting, had the design done. Construction began in July, and on October 3rd, 1888, the Utah Territorial Fairground opened. Utah Exposition building that they built wasn't just the largest building in Utah at the time. It was a cultural center of the neighborhood, the city, and the territory. This is where the community came together for the fairs. The first state fair was held there in 1899. It was where they've had Wild West shows, Arab acrobats, parachuting dogs, even a swearing contest. And it was also the center of football in Utah. I love the 1894 grudge match between the University of Utah and their arch nemesis, Salt Lake High School. Now, the U lost that game against them earlier in the year because none of them had played football, including one of the U players named David O'Mackey, who was later LDS church president. Well, this particular game held on Thanksgiving, they got together, and the high school team just happened to have 3 players who were teachers who had also played football back in colleges in the East. Well, University of Utah pulled a win out of that game against the high school, and we're very proud of it. although they were irritated at the newspapers calling the high school players, including the teachers, lads. Well, all this took place around Trolley Square, and this monumental building that was built there of beauty and boldness, it soared 125 feet, about half of what our current proposal is. You know, for us, it's not about bringing just back the architectural elements. It's about bringing back the legacy of this neighborhood so it won't be lost. It's not just about preserving history for us, but it's also about making history. Thank you.
Douglas White, followed by Mandy McKenna.
Evening. I'm legal counsel for Trolley Ventures. You've seen me a couple times before. I appreciate being here tonight. Just a couple of things I'd like to respond to. First of all, development agreements. There was a statement, this is a new precedence. Actually, that's not true. The state of Utah has approved and encouraged of development agreements for a long time now. State law is if the city attorney were here, we have files full of development agreements. What is new is that we have not used a development agreement in an historic overlay district. But my advice and counsel to you is it's frankly way overdue. It would have resolved much of the confusion and confrontation that we have, and I highly encourage you to use this tool in the future with other developers. This 3.75 acres, let's face it, is a blighted area. There are only 3 houses there out of some 30 that even make up a streetscape there. And the current zone does not permit for commercial uses. The Central City Master Plan encourages development, even targets in at-level old parking lots for mixed use. The current zone does not permit commercial use. Therefore, the zone must be changed if you're going to follow the master plan. All of that current zone, all the houses that are in there now are currently are legal non-conforming anyway. This matter has been approved by staff. There's a comment that lack of public input. I wholly challenge that idea. There has been more public comment on this project maybe than any other project in Salt Lake City. It's actually been approved by staff twice. It's been approved by planning and zoning twice. And each time those were passed for scrutinies, they were approved without any setbacks.
Time.
Thank you.
Hello, City Council. Oh, I'm short. My name is Mandy McKenna, and I'm the property manager at Trolley Square, and I'm also a resident of the neighborhood. I support the petitioner's development. The development area is currently an eyesore and an area of crime. As the property manager at Trolley Square, I receive all security reports of the area. They include vehicle break-ins, vehicle theft, break-ins to boarded up homes, and other criminal activity in that area. These types of issues severely diminish the character of this beautiful historic neighborhood and makes it difficult to encourage customers, tenants, and future businesses to consider this an area to visit. The developer has shown willingness to work both with the city and the community to make this project one that benefits all parties. This project can only improve the quality of life for both business and the community around the area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cassidy Rice, followed by Lynn Pershing.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Cassidy Rice, and I am the Marketing Director at Trolley Square Ventures. Over the course of my time at Trolley, I have seen the 600 South lot be a source of great discomfort for not only the employees who work within the shopping center, but for the patrons who have repeatedly come into our offices complaining with various cases of criminal activity. I believe that utilizing this lot for this kind of project would alleviate concern and discomfort for not only the center, but the surrounding community. I believe that we would lease a more captive audience and customer base for the hotel and Trolley. Newcoming residences would have a walkable commute to their weekly grocery shopping at Whole Foods, workouts at Core Power Yoga and Orange Theory Fitness, and easily accessed public transit stations. I believe that those fighting for the continuation and completion of this project, including myself, want the best for the community and this historic shopping center. Thank you.
Lynn Pershing. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I come with some grave concerns and about the precedents that this rezoning in local historic districts will have on other areas. Going big, that phrase that is supported by all council members, doesn't refer to size of a development, but innovative solutions that improves, not negatively impacts, the surrounding neighborhood, especially those that are part of a local historic district. The proposed design, mass, and scale is incompatible with an existing local historic district. To change the zoning to a form-based zone that, without appropriate text amendments to setbacks, step backs, and limiting the number of stories with a compatible architectural design will have a negative impact on this area of our city. I do not also very firmly are against development agreements the city has made. They have failed miserably to property owners, and they're not enforced by the city. Any agreement on this proposed property will have a set of very dangerous precedents in all our 11 local historic districts and 23 neighborhoods throughout this city that are listed on the National Register of Historic Places that have no protections in place. I strongly encourage you to deny this rezoning and send this project back to the Historic Landmarks Committee and process it through the Planning Commission before further reconsideration. Thank you.
Thank you. James Miska, followed by Elizabeth Toterer. Sorry, Elizabeth. I got it close, right? No? All right. Well, you can tell us your name when you come up to speak.
Hello, my name is James Miska. I come to you as both a resident living down the street from the proposal and also as a local small business owner. I don't believe it is in this neighborhood's best interest for the FBU and 2 zone, as it is not specific enough in its limitations with setbacks and stepbacks, and this project is far too out of character for this historic neighborhood. It's not fair. I also believe it's not fair to all of SLC's historic districts to make this property exempt from current and compliant zoning requirements, because it sets a precedent for future developers and future developments to step outside those requirements in other neighborhoods, or expect to be granted the permission to do so by City Council. I believe it's also rather short-sighted to consider this rezone, as it allows any future owners of the property to create something else that is even more wildly outside of the contained and charming character of this neighborhood. Semnani may not always be the owner of Charlie Square. And though he is proposing a parking structure, for instance, future owners don't have to provide such parking structures, which would negatively impact the neighborhood. So I urge you to also not grant this rezone, as it degrades our historic neighborhood and allows developers even more greedy than Charlie Square Ventures to put something negative in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Totterer. I've lived and worked in Salt Lake City for 10 years. I'm going to read a little bit here and then move on to some points. In those 10 years, I have lived with a family of 8, my family, who was hit hard by the 2008 crisis. Because of that, I've paid rent for myself and family members in every zip code from Rose Park to Mill Creek. I've seen growth in Salt Lake City that's been exciting for me as a resident. I love this city. I've also seen growth in terms of how much it costs to live here. I teach English as a second language to refugees recently resettled in Salt Lake City. I am astounded by how much I have in common with them, many of whom live in this neighborhood, and I'm here to speak not only about my experience, but about my students, who I don't think would be well served by this kind of growth and development. I don't think that this project is being put forward to the public in a way that allows comment by people who live in the neighborhood currently. To reference a few of the speakers who have said things in favor of the project, the architect mentioned numerous meetings between city staff, between council members, between the Landmarks Commission. Those all have been without public comment. I understand that they're available. Not much has been said in terms of who lives there and giving access to this public comment. I appreciate this forum for that reason. The architect also mentioned that the project development as it is now is in compliance with FBUN2 limits, which isn't a hard thing to do. As has been mentioned, there are no setbacks, no stepbacks for this project. There's no real necessity for the developers to invest in the neighborhood apart from building something there. You know, the managers.
Finish
Thank
your
you
thought,
for
Elizabeth.
time. I would like to finish by saying that I think that there are multiple issues at hand in some of the points made that don't necessarily direct just to this parcel, but are issues in Salt Lake in general. Crime, blighted areas, those are issues that I know that the City Council is working on now, and I appreciate that effort. I think that there are better ways to serve the people who are living in this area now and who need the help the most in Salt Lake City, who make it what it is, that the City Council can do to really make this project something that is a beauty rather than a blight to a neighborhood.
Elizabeth.
Thank you.
I'm down to my last two cards. If there's anyone else that would like to speak to this topic, if you'd raise your hand and we'll bring a comment card around to you. Looks like I've got two more cards, but it looks like there's two other individuals, staff. I have Scott Howell, followed by Khosrow Samani.
Thank you, Councilmember Scott Howell, working with Trolley. You've had a busy day, and congratulations on the sites. It's really terrific. A couple of things. We've heard some comments tonight, and I'm not quite sure everyone understands that this has gone through planning twice and approved by planning twice, recommended by staff twice, and there will be an open house on Thursday night where everyone can add their comments. But we've gone to city councils. We've been to 3 city councils on the project, and this has been a year-long venture. So it's not like we're just pulling it out of the hat. The approval by the staff and by the Planning Commission hopefully will give you impetus to know that what we're asking for tonight is a zoning. And the setbacks and the step backs and all of that, we will continue down the process of meeting with the HLC and having general comment. This is one of the best projects that you could have in Salt Lake City. It brings a boutique hotel, which drives revenue, which drives jobs, which drives the opportunity for those refugees that we've heard about to participate in the job market. It drives economic development for the great city of Salt Lake. We'd urge your vote on it, and we will continue to be listening ears as you come forward with questions or concerns. Thank you very much.
My name is Khosrow Samani. Thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you and give you comment. I was listening to many of the individuals who had some concern about our operation and the project. Some of it is misplaced, misinformed. Some of it, they may have a point, and we are welcoming that those information and input later on. But just briefly, I want to tell you this, the project is in confirmation with the master plan, as has been stated. It is important that we do this project because the parking lot is a place that is really a problem for the neighborhood. And I think everybody here, even some of the people who are opposing our project, they agree that something has to be done. So it has to be done in the right way. And for your information, at the recommendation of Ms. Cindy Koss-Jensen, we went before the HLC, and we are in discussion with them. We have talked to them, and they will, we are continuing to be working with them, and there would be a formal opportunity for anybody who has issues. They are welcome to talk about this. I think the project has been, as I said, has been reviewed very detailed, and thank you for the staff at the mayor's office as well as the council's office that we've done the work. We appreciate your input, and we continue to receive your input. I think the information we got from HLC, for your information, it was very, very, very valuable. It was really helpful for us to think through and how we can place this thing. If anybody has seen the picture or the rendering. Those are just, you know, very preliminary. There is no, you have not finalized it. We don't know how many units is going to go there. There are a lot of information is out there that's not available yet, even to us. So I would encourage you to give us the opportunity for rezone. And as we go forward, public will have plenty of opportunity to talk about it before HLC and other bodies as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Love, followed by Willie Nevins.
Good evening, and thank you very much. My name is Jessica Love, and I own 659 East, 900 South, and I regularly walk in the neighborhood in question. A year and a half ago, I put in a request to have solar panels installed on the south face of my home, which would be visible from the sidewalk from 900 South, and it was declined because I was told that it would alter the historic nature of my home too much. And I find it absurd and unfair that we're considering a project that would be so massively distorting to the feel of the neighborhood as a project of this scale. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, as a point of privilege too, I would encourage the last speaker to talk to one of our staff because we've made some modifications to our solar panel installation requirements in historic districts, so you might want to talk to a staff member before you leave.
Good evening. My name is Willie Nevins. I'm a long-term, lifelong resident of Salt Lake, downtown area. And I'd just like to join you all in asking and trying to answer with me how the crime, which is talked about by a lot of the people in favor of this rezoning, how the crime in this neighborhood justifies rezoning and allowing applicants to be exempt from long-standing zoning laws and historic values. So, I mean, crime exists in this city, but allowing a community to be reconstructed and displaced by a single entity makes little sense as a solution to the crime. If the argument is to rezone a space in order to solve crime, if that makes sense over simple historic community improvements and community engagements, then it seems obvious that there are lurking variables here at play and that there are obviously ulterior motives that are not being considered. Thanks.
Thank you. I am down to my last card. Anyone else that would like to speak in regards to this, please raise your hand. We'll have a card brought to you. The last speaker I have is Jim Webster.
I spoke at the Planning Commission with not enough information, I have to admit. All I knew was what was in the paper. And that was unfortunate because I don't think the process was really complete. I did take the opportunity to meet with Khosrow and Mike after that on my own initiative to better understand the cladding idea of replicating or at least keeping in spirit with who I think was one of the top 2 or 3 architects that ever lived in Utah. And I'd certainly like to see that perpetuated if it's done properly. I think I'm a landscape architect, but I also taught architectural history, have a couple degrees in that as well, so I taught that at Utah State. I came to Salt Lake from Logan in I think 71, 72, and I remember that area to the south of Trolley Square was really pretty rough. And when Wally Wright did what he did, and I worked with Wally Wright at least on the bridge. I tried to outbid him at an auction in Tooele, but that bridge was originally a mine conveyor, and so I go back that far on that project. What I'm concerned about, however, is no fault of Khosrow or his organization, other than the fact that, and I think Charlie would recognize this, we've had some pretty serious concerns about development agreements. And I agree with Lynn that those have not been handled appropriately, I don't think. I think the city has lost the ability to enforce those for whatever reason. I'm specifically talking about the Trail to Nowhere. There's absolutely no reason that that should not be enforced or could not be enforced. And so if that's a precedent for what could happen here, and I hope it's not the case, that would be my only concern. Thank you for your time.
do not have any other comment cards for the Trolley Square Ventures rezone, so I will look for a motion. What was that? Oh, it says do not. Okay, Sean Shoemaker, who put on here that he did not want to speak and now would like to speak, so. Well, we have your comment too, so this is good.
Okay. Actually, I just saw my neighbor come up, and I was like, you know, my neighbor came up, I should go up as well. So actually, I own a triplex on 700 East, and I have other rental property in Utah as well. And I'm very excited about the idea of the redevelopment, so I appreciate you doing that. However, that being said, I do not really appreciate having double standards in the community. As a business owner, also in the rental market, I feel that we should have an even playing field. If new developments are able to be done where energy efficiency can be put in place and where new construction that looks somewhat historic can be put in place, I should have the same ability. We bought in that community knowing that we would not have that ability, but we do believe in the community, and frankly believe that a lot of what is seen as a value in the community is a historic component. It's one of the reasons why we're able to get the returns that we do have at a fairly discounted rate while still providing affordable housing. Thank you.
Okay, Sean was my last card, so we are looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close this public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold and second by Councilmember Adams to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion carries. We're on to item B2, which is the Airport Terminal Redevelopment Program Budget Amendment. And I do not have any cards. Is there anyone that would like to speak in regards to this issue? Seeing none, Charlie Luke.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City for fiscal year 2016-2017 as it pertains to the airport fund. And I further move that the council expresses our intent to work with the administration as we conduct a complete audit of the airport terminal redevelopment project's prime and subcontractors contracted to assure that they are in full compliance with Salt Lake City Code 3.24.115 and that the airport is fully implementing the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, there's multiple seconds. There's a motion been made by Councilmember Charlie Luke and a second by Councilmember Derek Kitchen. Is there any discussion in regards to this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. We're on to item B3, which is a grant application for DUI enforcement equipment, and I do not have any cards. So I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close this public hearing.
Motion has been made.
Second.
By Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Adams. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries as well.
Could we get the doors closed?
We are on to potential action items, which is C1, budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2016 and 17. And I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'm just making sure I'm reading from the most current version, but I assume that the one in front of us is the most current version.
I didn't hear a single word you said.
I think this is the right one. This is
I heard a bunch of mumbling, Stan.
Of a for sure one. Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2016-17, with the following changes and or conditions. Using park impact fee for items A4, I-10, and I-11 once the new impact fee facilities plan is adopted. Using transportation impact fee money for item A27 once the new impact fee facilities plan is adopted. An additional $500,000 from the general fund balance to be allocated to item A30 for the fleet fund to purchase additional police vehicles. That item A10 through A13 related to the Economic Development Department are approved on the condition that funds not be expended until the City Council receives written assurance from the mayor that lead RDA position, regardless of title, be subject to advice and consent of the City Council in keeping with the ordinance adopted by the Council designating the RDA as a city department. That we appropriate $200,000 from general fund balance to the non-departmental budget for the purpose of temporarily moving homeless population indoors in severe weather events. This money would be reimbursed to the road home based on providing indoor space to homeless individuals in severe weather conditions. The council added item I-5 include 3 FTEs to preserve flexibility with the specific intent that one be held vacant until further council discussion. This motion includes all of the remaining budget amendment items with the exception of item A1 for the Arts Council budget, which we understand additional information is forthcoming, a new item for operation diversion funding and other items as needed for follow-up. As a clarification, I further move that the council hold open this budget amendment in order to have a follow-up briefing on January 3rd regarding Arts Council budget, operation diversion funding, and other items as needed for follow-up.
So a motion has been made.
Second.
By Councilmember Penfold and a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion in regards to this? Yes, Councilmember Mendenhall.
We added tonight $200,000 from the general fund in the event of the extreme weather event. Should we need additional overflow in this city that we don't currently have capacity for, and I just didn't want that to go unnoticed in the middle of the rest of these budget items that we're approving tonight. There's no question that we're turning a new leaf in terms of services and our approach as a city to homeless services. But that is a long time off. And the action we took today and with the mayor in talking about where those sites will be is just the beginning of a years-long process to get us to that point of change. And in the meantime, when we go home tonight, I think everyone in this room is going home somewhere tonight. I'm glad that we have the capacity to expand as a city. I mean literally and figuratively, again. Expand our capacity to serve people should it get wet and cold, not just cold like it is tonight. So I just wanted to thank my peers for that and hope that we don't need this money. Thanks.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously as well. We're on to item C2, which is the draft impact fees facilities plan. We are going to look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending certain sections of 18.98 of the Salt Lake City Code relating to impact fees, adopting an impact fee facilities plan, and providing for corresponding changes to the Salt Lake City Consolidated Fee Schedule. Second. Should I add the legislative action as part of the motion, or is that a follow-up? If I may, Derek, if you're receptive. In addition, the council requests that in 2017, the administration initiate and transmit a supplemental study amending the impact fee facilities plan with costs necessary to maintain levels of service as a result of projected growth in the Northwest Quadrant. The council will not spend impact fees in the Northwest Quadrant until the impact fee facilities plan is amended.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. A motion by Councilmember Penfold and second by Councilmember Kitchen to adopt this motion with legislative action. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries as well. We're on to comments, questions to the mayor from the city council. The mayor is not here this evening, but we have Patrick Leary and David Litvak, who is the chief of staff and deputy chief of staff. Any questions for these gentlemen who are sitting in for the mayor this evening? Aaron Mendenhall and then Derek Kitchen.
I just wanted to extend our sympathies to the mayor as she deals with her ailing father, and she's in our thoughts, I think I can say for all of us.
I second what Aaron said. Hopefully everything is okay with the mayor while she deals with her ailing father. I also wanted to mention that it's unfortunate that she couldn't make it here tonight as we move forward with the resolution for these new facilities. In addition to her not being here tonight, she hasn't really been here for the better part of the last 10 or so meetings, and that's unfortunate, especially on a night like tonight when we ought to be showing solidarity as we move forward. And so if you wouldn't mind sharing our regrets that she couldn't join us tonight.
And we're going to move on to any other questions. We'll go on to comments to the city council. The same rules of decorum apply. Please no jeering, yelling, cheering, standing on furniture. And I will call 2 names forward if the first individual will come forward and the second one be ready. The first one is Douglas Cotant, followed by Bernard Hart.
Good Mayor, what is the reason why the mayor isn't here?
I didn't hear your question, Douglas.
Oh, sorry. What is the reason why she is not here tonight?
She's dealing with a family emergency.
All right. Lisa, did you get the Christmas card I gave you?
I have not yet seen it, but I'm sure I'll be getting it soon. Thanks.
Okay. I gave it to one of the men to give you.
I'm sure they'll get it to me.
Right. I was, okay. I guess the real reason I'm here is because a few nights ago I was on the internet and I happened to look on the internet about the fallen police officers that have been killed in the line of duty, and I know that there are 63 of them, and I think that's a bit too much, and I think one of the things we could do to maybe prevent this from happening is, first of all, when Deputy Wright was killed, his wife asked the state legislature to appropriate some money to armor plate or bulletproof the driver's side. I was thinking that maybe instead of just doing that, either armor plate or bulletproof the entire police vehicle as a way to protect the lives of the officers. Thank you.
Bernard Hart, and thank you for what you do. I was a little bothered this morning when I got up and read the headlines or the front page of the Deseret News and the Salt Lake Tribune and the article after all the public hearings here in Salt Lake on the homeless issue. I felt deceived. I felt like, you know, that the process was unsatisfactory. It made me very uncomfortable because when the people in the city were deliberating what we saw as a vision of these new homeless resource centers, which are desperately needed in the city, and I want to thank you for picking the locations. The locations are fine. I live right in the middle of them, but they're spread out around the city, and they'll probably function real well for the homeless. But I felt very uncomfortable because through that decision-making process, when we were getting received the administration, because the council at that time wasn't part of the process, when the administration was receiving comments from the public, on what they thought should come into or be part of a facility. At that time, we expected the Wiegand Center to be in place, and we expected the road home to be functioning as a shelter, as a backup for what's happening in the city, because we knew up front that the proposed units, the number of units, wouldn't satisfy the needs of the city. So we were under the assumption, one assumption, but now a few of us and a number of us have been blindsided by this current news about the road home closing. And that affects how a lot of us are thinking about the process and what's going to happen with these facilities in our neighborhoods. And it's very troubling. There's a lot of other issues I'd like to address, but tonight that is my main concern. And the concern I'd like to have the council really look at is how this is going to work and impact the neighborhoods, because these units, no matter what the administration says, and I doubt what they're saying now, and I will doubt it in the future because of the process, the facilities themselves will not be able to provide the treatments because there are no known treatments for these mental illnesses that will relieve the problem in our city, and that's what they're going to have to do to make this work. And there'll be time for future comment, I hope, but thank you.
Margot Brady, I hope I didn't mess that up, Margot. It's written, so followed by Jessica Love.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I live on approximately 2200 East and 2240 South. It was after construction started 2 weeks ago that I learned that a large Google box was being dropped into the easement associated with my property. I would like to address the notification process, the lack of discussion, the lack of information that has been distributed to constituents who have had this happen. In addition to the future planning of utilities being dropped into easements on blocks that are already carrying a very heavy load in regards to public utility placement and access. Proper notification to me is not a flyer on a doorstep. And granted, we were not living there all year, but the IT contractor was unable to tell me when this flyer was left or what it contained. Proper notification should have been something in the mail or a knock on the door. I asked questions in regards to how many boxes were being located, the locations, the selection process. It was not until I escalated this to Matt Woolley, who is the Salt Lake project director, that I actually got answers, which took 5 days. So I think the notification process, the discussion, needs to happen prior to construction occurring. Secondly, our block carries a very heavy load in regards to public utility access based on a pole that is on the southwest corner of my property. Regularly have Utah Power and Light, Comcast, trucks, traffic, workers that are in front of my driveway, but they need access to it. In the future, as utilities are being considered for this city, I would encourage the planning and the zoning to consider blocks that are already carrying a heavy load and perhaps spreading them out. Thank you very much for your time.
Is Jessica Love here? Jessica Love, she's not here. So I'm down to the last two cards. It's Chris Sviven, followed by George Chapman. And if there's anyone else that would wish to speak, please raise your hand and we'll bring a card to you.
Hello there. Thanks for listening to me tonight. I guess to tell you a little bit about myself to start. Live in the Sugar House area. My day went a little strange. I had news crews waking up me and my little kid all afternoon because apparently there's going to be a homeless shelter right at the end of my street. As somebody who just dumped their life savings and a down payment and remodeling a house, I feel blindsided that this information wasn't out there more readily available. Seeing such a huge homeless problem in Salt Lake City, it's just bizarre to me that you're going to take away a daycare that's full. 4 small businesses are going to be shut down. it's bizarre. I don't know exactly why that location was picked. I agree something needs to be done, and more beds need to be added. I understand that. The location is very strange to me, the 21st South, 7th East. I don't understand how knocking a daycare center down, and in the middle of a neighborhood full of families, you're going to put a large homeless outreach thing. Sounds very risky when I see how it's going down the Rio Grande area. I'm imagining a smaller version of that at the end of my street. I would have liked to know that's going to happen or be in the works before I put my life savings into a home that I feel is now worth less, that I'm scared my 18-month-old child and wife won't be safe at. I mean, nobody can tell me that's not a real concern. If I'm not comfortable going to Pioneer Park anymore, and I was comfortable in my great, awesome neighborhood that I love taking my child and wife out every day. I feel very passionately about this, and I hope you hear it in my voice. It's unfair to bushwhack someone like that. That's how I feel. I think it's not fair, and I hope you guys look into where it's being put, why it's being put there, and who it affects, because something does need to be done, but you should be very selective, I think, about where you're dropping things on people before they can say anything about it. So, thank you for listening to me.
We'll talk later about what I think about what you did with homeless sites. I want to talk about the 3120 Richmond Street you're going to be discussing tonight. Before you approve that, remember the comments that you got from the residents and the businesses in the area. This is a really dangerous intersection that's really odd. It's between the county and Salt Lake City, and there's almost no way to really make it better. But you need to make it better. I encourage you to put in some intersection improvements, some kind of light or something to make it a lot more safer, because with a big new residential development or mixed use development on that corner, you're going to have a problem. Miller Street is a county street, and Richmond at that point is Salt Lake City. That's a problem. So there will be crashes. There have been crashes in that area already. So please consider, before you're approving this, before you approve it, put in intersection improvements, some kind of traffic light in coordination with the one at Brickyard Plaza. And one other thing on Trax Airport, UTA, according to questions that were directed to them, said they are not obligated to complete airport tracks. So what you've heard tonight earlier is kind of what the heck is going on. There's a miscommunication. UTA may be the lead to try and get funds, but right now they're telling us they're not obligated because they don't have the funds. So heads up.
The final card that I have this evening is John Wadlow.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for letting me speak. I hope you can hear me. I'm here for the homeless shelters. I came for the airport, the board to hear on that, but the homeless shelters is a big deal to me. I was homeless at one time. A lot of our veterans are homeless right now. When this board considers the homeless shelter, I'm the CEO of a business now. The only thing that helped that out because of the social workers that helped me. When you think about the homeless shelters, think about the funding for the social workers that can help our homeless people. We got a lot of people out there. We got a lot of veterans that have gone through a lot to help our country, and they need help now. So also think of the funding when you think about these homeless shelters. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you. That concludes our comments to the City Council this evening. We'll move on to new business, E1, which is advice and consent for the Finance Department Director appointment of Mary Beth Thompson. So, council members, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we suspend the rules and adopt the appointment.
So a motion's been made by Councilmember Penfold and seconded by Councilmember Luke to suspend and adopt the appointment. Is there any discussion? Well, I'll just take this time just to say I'm excited for this appointment. Mary Beth is fantastic, and she will represent the city extremely well in diving into serious issues that might confront us with finances. So we'll vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. We're on to item E2, resolution for homeless resource centers. I guess the question is, do we adopt this joint resolution with the mayor not being here at this time? Do you have an update for us, Russell?
Well, there has been a request to differentiate between the resolution before you and the one that was in your packets on Friday. There have been two changes since then. One is, if you look down on the first page of the resolution before you, and you count down to the 10th whereas clause, the clause reads, whereas the City Council and the Mayor recognize the importance of ensuring that the population served by each homeless resource center will be compatible with the surrounding communities and neighborhoods. The other addition is the last item on the therefore section, and it's on page 3 above the signature blocks. That reads that the city will collaborate with the Salt Lake City Redevelopment Agency and Shelter the Homeless Committee, Inc. to execute the agreed upon exchange for fair value and after appraisal of the property at 210 South Rio Grande Street, owned by Shelter the Homeless Committee, Inc., for the property at 648 West 100 South Street, owned by the Redevelopment Agency. This exchange will be completed once a new resource center is constructed on the property at 648 West 100 South Street, and after all 4 shelters are fully operational.
So other than, let me just get this straight, Russell. Other than the 10th whereas and that paragraph that you just read, number 6, it's pretty much the same.
Yes,
It's exactly the same other than those two.
that's correct.
Is there any discussion in regards to the resolution, council members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Adams.
Couple of things on item number 6 in the be it resolved portion. One concern I have is that earlier today it was reported that Harris Simmons, who's the head of Shelter the Homeless Committee, said that the vote they took was non-binding. Is that accurate or not? Okay, so that the paper misquoted that or just got bad information. Will you say it out loud so that it's recorded? Thanks.
Yes, that's what I would assume. The Shelter the Homeless Committee board voted in support of the land exchange and in support of a legal agreement that we are working currently with them on.
And that is, so it's binding on them? Okay. And the other concern I have is that when I reluctantly agreed to the Simpson Avenue property because it has residential, and we've heard from people tonight, it was with the understanding that it would be designated as a place for families or single parents with kids. And I felt comfortable with supporting it because of that. We don't reflect that language in here. There's a more general statement, but I intend to hold the administration to that because that was the only reason I signed off on it. And if it can't go that direction, then I can't feel good about it.
Councilmember Mendenhall.
Because the question right now is which resolution, right?
Which resolution, or are we going to do a resolution this evening?
Well, I'll jump in then.
Great.
That it has been a remarkable experience to work together in unanimity as we have on this really unpopular and distasteful process, really, of citing new homeless shelters in our city. And I mean that in collaboration with the administration. The hurdle that we overcame today in announcing those sites is significant, and it's the beginning of the real work that we're about to undertake. And I really look forward to continuing to work with each of you and our mayor as we get to the brass tacks of what this means in our communities. I commit my efforts. I've already started, but I'm going to continue to work to make sure that every possible mitigation to reduce the impact on the communities and promote the success of the individuals served there is taken and considered and implemented as much as we can with our county partners. But as a city, we have a lot of power to wield in the creation of these homeless sites. This non-binding resolution is essentially a feel-good thumbs up. It isn't binding, and it's a thumbs up to the 4 sites that we selected and the commitment to retire the road home shelter at the completion of construction of the 4 sites. I appreciate our unanimity, but I was the one dissenting on one of those properties, and I haven't been able to come around to it, and I still can't come around to it today. Because this is a non-binding resolution, I wouldn't be voting in support of it. Our unanimous solidarity came as we sat together this morning and had our chair present those sites with the mayor. I think that the benefits don't outweigh the costs of the Simpson site, and this isn't NIMBYism, that isn't the site in my district, and that there is significant mitigation that we should do because this has already been decided. So that's what I'll work on as we go forward, but as for tonight's non-binding resolution, I can't vote in support of it. And also because, frankly, I think our mayor should be here. And we go through family issues and we get tired. But this was at her insistence. And we're sitting up here debating and no one's even speaking up as to whether or not it's important we do this tonight yet. I hope someone will, but I don't think it's important for us to do this tonight. And this is not my prerogative. So I want to mention one more thing, that I think it's premature that we determine the time of the closure of the road home. And so I am also uncomfortable with that part of the resolution.
Any other discussion? Andrew.
I appreciate your comments, both of you. Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Mendenhall. I think I agree with the intent to mitigate problems in each location. I hesitate to say the least problematic element would be single individuals or kids. That's where my concern about saying specific things, because not knowing what the population is you're going to go in there, they may be more problematic in some ways. So if the intent is to mitigate problems, which I fully agree with, we need an open discussion and be very clear about the subpopulations and the specific folks going in there and how it's run. I fully endorse wanting to mitigate those problems, though, okay? Second piece, I appreciate the mayor flying back on notice today to do the press conference and take the lead role. I want to make sure that I am clear about that. We may have concerns about issues prior to this meeting, about other meetings, and attendance, but the fact that she took the lead today, I appreciate that very, very much, and the things that she's going through, so please pass that on. If we feel it's appropriate to wait until another night when she can be here to do that, I'm fine with that. The intent of this is to show our intention that we are moving forward on trying to find a solution. It's a messy process, but right now it's untenable. The status quo does not work. appreciate the efforts that have gone in, and we may have disagreements, but I think the solidarity is about moving forward on finding a solution that works as best as we can for everybody involved. So I will endorse the resolution. I'm open to hearing if we do feel it's appropriate for the mayor to be here. I'm fine with that. But the intent is to move forward as a group and sort out our problems and the issues we're going to confront together. So thank you for your efforts so far. It's not easy. But I think this is the work we're engaged in to find solutions to very, very vexing problems that many before us have tried and not been able to. So thank you for participating. Thank you for those who gave comments today. It means something. Quite a bit, in fact. It impacts a lot of us. We are going to continue to work together on this, though. This is not the end by any measure. We have years ahead of us, in fact, of these particular sites and buildings to work through. So as you're looking for input and comment, this is not a 1 week or 1 month or even a 1 year situation. We have a lot of things to do still on these. So please hang together as much as we can. Let's work through our differences together and find mutual solutions that'll work for us.
So any council members wanting to make a motion, I personally think it would be at our best interest to wait until the mayor is here, have her input, discussion, and have discussion of her administration as well in moving forward with the resolution. So that would be there's my 2 cents. But I leave it up to the body of the council. Does anyone want to propose a motion?
Mr. Chair, so that we can formalize maybe our position on this, let me try a motion to table the resolution to a future date.
There's a motion been made by Councilmember Penfold. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Johnston to table this resolution. Yes, good idea. So we'll roll call this starting at the other end of the table with Councilmember Adams.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendenhall. Councilmember Kitchen.
Yes.
Councilmember Penfold.
No.
Johnston.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So we had 5 yeses with Mendenhall and Penfold who were dissenting voters. So we'll move on to item F1, unfinished business. Resolution authorizing the issuance and the sale of general obligation refunding bonds. Look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $9 million in general obligation refunding bonds.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold and second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries. We're on to item F2, which is the airport revenue bonds. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council adopt the resolution authorizing up to $1 billion of airport revenue bonds to finance capital improvements to the Salt Lake City International Airport, authorizing a master trust indenture and first supplement trust indenture, authorizing certain officials and officers to approve the final terms and provision of the bonds within the parameters in the resolution, providing for the publication of notice as of a January 3rd, 2017 public hearing to receive comment from the public with respect to the issuance of the bonds and the potential economic impact the capital improvements will have on the private sector, providing for the running of a contest period and authorizing all other necessary actions.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Luke and second by Councilmember Penfold. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. We're on to item F3, which is 3120 South Richmond Street rezone and master plan amendment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the zoning of the property located at 3120 South Richmond Street from RO to RMU 45.
Motion by Councilmember Adams. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion in regards to this motion? No? Okay, we are going to take a vote. All those in favor of the adopting an ordinance amending the zoning of the property located at 3120 South Richmond Street from RO to RMU 45. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
We have 6 in favor, 1 dissenting vote, and that's Councilmember Mendenhall. We're on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold and second by Councilmember Luke to adopt the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. And thank you for spending your evening with us. We are now adjourned.
Adjourned for the whole year.
Lisa, may I see you?